Good afternoon. Once again, we are launching one more Coffee with Authors today. And today, our special guest is George Tsitsonis from all the way from America, our Greek American author who has written the amazing non-fiction this time book Achieving the Impossible, that basically traces Greece's victory all the way to winning the Euro 2004. We're gonna connect with George in a moment. This is our first Coffee with Authors that covers a non-fiction title, and we're very excited about it. We are looking forward to your questions, anything that you want to ask George or me, or like anything about the book. Just feel free to do so. As I said, this is going to be our sixth Coffee with Authors, so prep your brews, your cuppers, whatever you like, and join us for this convo. We're waiting for George to connect in a moment, and we're going to be talking about, obviously, the book, his calling as an author, and anything else that also has to do with his writing experience as well. And the roots, of course, the Greek roots, and anything that is basically touching on the the writing element. As I said, prepare your brews, prepare your coffees, prepare your teas, and we are also ready for your questions. We will be answering those throughout the call as soon as George connects, and but of course we will also be covering topics that have to do with the book. I repeat, the book is Achieving the Impossible. It is available on Diavazo Greek Books and also in other selected bookshops, as George will also say and mention. And yeah, we will be talking thoroughly about it. Uh, it's a lovely book. I did read it. It's just, although even with whether you are into football or not, this book is just captivating, and it really kind of tells the story as if it was fiction, and it's all true, and George touches on a lot of unknown aspects, so you can just see the research of it all. And yeah, just truly amazing. It can totally be read in one go, in one breath, in one sitting. And as I said, I mean, I do enjoy football, not like a massive fan or anything. I do remember Euro 2004 being a very big thing back home. But yeah, this book just really not only brought back memories, but reading it obviously a few years later, with a more mature mind, it really kind of paints the picture of as well the sort of socio-political scene as well, without it being a socio-political analysis, if that makes any sense. We are looking. Oh, there he is. We're looking forward to having George here, but there he is joining us now as we speak. Hello, George. Hi.
Hello.
I gave an extensive
Hello.
introduction of the book.
Oh, sorry. Well,
But
technical difficulties.
no, it's absolutely fine. You just gave me time to talk by myself. It's absolutely fine. I have no problem doing
Perfect.
that. Yeah,
I'm gonna have
I
to go
know.
back and listen to that.
Yeah, no, I know, whatever that says about me. But yeah, I mean, I was showing people your book, what it looks
Oh,
like. I was obviously commenting on it, because I did read it, and I was just telling everyone how, it was absolutely captivating, and it was sort of because I mean, your research is just phenomenal, is remarkable. Um, it just touches on a lot of elements of the Greek reality, and the social political scene as well, in terms of and how it connects to football, of course, but without it being a
yeah.
social political analysis, which is, I mean, one of my kind of favorite things. And I was just saying as well that you don't have to be a football fan to get this book. It's literally a another scope on on the Greek reality, but like through like a very, very important, fact, very like phenomenal fact. So,
Yeah.
hello, George. Thank you so much for
Hello.
this. I am
Thank you
absolutely
for
thrilled
having
to
me.
have you. And because, as well as I
Privileged
was
to see
saying,
you.
this is our first non-fiction book that
Oh,
I'm, we're going to be talking about, and I'm very excited as well because I do love non-fiction as much as I love fiction as well. So, yeah, like I've got a few questions for you.
great,
I have
great.
given you the heads up
Look forward
about
to
them, but I'm going to start firing soon, and I will
it. Sure.
remind people, do feel free to ask us anything. I mean, ideally relating to the book or like the writing sort of like process, but obviously if there's anything else you want to ask, we're here to, well, definitely listen, probably answer as well. And yeah, this is your one chance. It's definitely a Diavazo exclusive to have like George on here, and it's an absolute pleasure. Righty. So obviously, I mean, I've said a few things about the book, but would you like as well to like, you know, give us a presentation? Basically, tell us basically what the book covers, and like, so what sort of like timeline does it span over, and um, like, yeah, what is it about?
Sure. Okay, so the book is the story of how Greece won the 2004 European Championships in football, and anybody that's familiar with the game will know that this was one of the biggest surprises, biggest shocks in the history of the sport. A team that just really came out of nowhere, that nobody had fancied, that didn't really have much of an international pedigree. They came out of nowhere to win this tournament. So it's kind of the story about how they did it, the process in which the team really transformed from a group of kind of loosely talented players who had never really achieved much together.
I like the loosely talented. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's kind of the story about how a German manager, Otto Rahagel, kind of gathered this group together, instilled a little bit of discipline, a little bit of organization and structure, and just kind of the magical journey that the team went on, after he took charge in 2001. There's a little bit of background of how the sport of football began in Greece and the kind of the beginnings of the national team and a history of it.
Yes.
We delved a little bit into the manager, Otto Rahagel, because I think he's just a fascinating figure. And then we tried to, touch upon the players, a little bit of their background, their stories, and kind of how this happened, how this crazy set, this kind of perfect storm came about for Greece to win a European title.
And that's what I want to say. Like, you kind of like put everything together in the book in such a storytelling like manner. Okay, so it kind of like it all just like ties in together like beautifully. Like you say, you mentioned the background, and like some would think, oh, why do I need to know this, or why is it like relevant? And I mean, it's just like it all kind of like connects. I just couldn't stop reading because it literally was, oh my god, yes, this, and that led to that, and then that led to that, and it was just like all like it was. You don't bombard with information, but at the same time you do give all the necessary like details that kind of like paint the background and the road to there, because as you said, it was something improbable, and all of a sudden, you kind of like look at it and it's just like, how did that happen? Like, honestly, like I think most of us that kind of like remember it, all of us was just like, yeah, that was great, but like, how, So yeah, I mean, and that leads me like to the next question, like, what triggered you like to actually write? Like, do you write in general? Like, I mean, what's your sort of, but what triggered it basically?
Yeah, so it was innocent enough. It was really, I was in the backyard with my kids. It was just after like the 13th year anniversary of Greece winning it, back in 2017, I think.
Okay.
And of course, any chance I get to tell this story about Greece winning the Euro, and of course, probably like many Greek dads, there's eye rolls. Okay, we've heard this so many times, but I was in the midst of telling the story.
No,
and
well, maybe that
magically I got them
that wanted to write something similar, So yeah, apart from the eye rolls, there might be a bit of inspiration as well there.
Right. So they were listening, and like we kind of went through the process and maybe like the tournament itself and all the little just little details that I was trying to toss out to them to make it more interesting. You know, and they thought it was a pretty cool story. You know, we were getting our cleats on, ready to go play in the backyard. So, you know, it was kind of just setting up for that, getting excited about playing or whatever.
God.
But, yeah. So, but then, you know, after that day, I was like, I remember later on that afternoon, you know, I was like, you know what, I want to delve into it a little bit more. I'm going to, you know, do some research online, just see, you know, what else is out there. Cause it's been a long time since I had, you know, looked up anything regarding Euro 2004. And there was just such a dearth of information, such a like lack of any sort of coverage, really, like, you know, nothing really that was comprehensive in any way. And much of it, you know, to my dismay, was kind of negative, talking about how Greece kind of bored their way to the title, played really negative football.
Yeah, like, so,
you know, I'm a little biased.
Yeah, so
but,
like,
you know, I was like, okay, that they did play defensive, and they certainly, like, you know,
yeah,
that was their strength. They sat back and they really played on the counterattack.
Yeah.
But I thought it was much more nuanced than that. I thought that was just kind of an easy way to kind of explain this shock, which I thought, yeah, I think there's more to the story. So, you know, I just started looking up a little bit more about it, researching a little bit more. I was writing for a Greek sports site at the time, who did articles in English.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I'll do something maybe special for that site with regard to Euro 2004. One thing led to another, and I just started really kind of gathering a lot of information.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what, let's just take a shot and see if any of this maybe can become bigger. So, you know, and we ended up with that somehow, some way.
Yeah, but you know, going back to what you said about like the negative sort of like, you know, stuff, I mean, obviously it must have been quite sort of like, I mean, not only like discouraging, of course, but like, yeah, so like, was it coming mainly from like foreign press, like writing like, in English? Or was it
I mean,
also,
I think
like,
the Greek press was,
you know, Greek, like, you know, journalists and like newspapers and like articles?
yeah, I mean, I think most of the negative coverage is coming from the foreign press. I think, you know, Greek journalists were so excited to write about something
I know,
positive
that's
about
what
the
I'm
football
thinking
team.
about.
So we were like, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like
But
asking.
I thought, you know, so if you know any of the story, if you read the book at all, you'll see that once Greece beats France in the quarterfinals, and France was the big favorite and a really team stacked with great players. All of a sudden, the narrative started to change about Greece, because before they were the plucky underdogs that were like, oh, Greece is such a great story. Once they beat France, though, it kind of shifted. It's like, okay, this kind of negative team who's boring everybody to death is now progressing far in this tournament, you know, playing this awful style of soccer, which, you know, I thought was so extreme. You know, and if we just watched the Euro, many of us, you know, there was a mix of like some good football and there was a mix of not so good.
Naturally,
you know,
though,
there was teams that played defensive, and that's just what happens sometimes. But you know, there was always a mix. I think that
most of the time,
makes soccer,
like
beautiful.
you know, whoever gets like to the top, obviously, like has some bad games to account for, right? But and obviously, like as you said, it was a team of like loosely talented people. You know that, you know, a lot of other like factors kind of like came together, and that's what basically, you know, comes out in the book. Basically, like, you know what, it's never one factor really, and it's just like yeah, and even like, you know,
I just thought the story deserved a little bit more
coverage.
You know, a little bit more looking into, and you know, I just wanted to bring that out a little bit, maybe offer up a different sort of viewpoint.
See, that's the thing now, like that kind of like leads me to the other kind of like question, because, you know, obviously you talk about your own sort of like urge, your need, as George, you know, to kind of like bring this to the surface. I mean, you are not an author by trade, right? So like, exactly, this was just like a, you know, a project, like a maiden project, starting from scratch, but it was just literally something that, you know, it was an inner driving force, if you will. So like, okay, so this is the point where like I want you to kind of like, you know, tell us a bit about yourself. What was like the calling, basically? What did you know writing this book bring to you, really? Like, so, you know, I mean, more on the sort of like, you know, personal side. What was the personal quest of things, you know, as you were writing? Obviously, you know, as you said as a dad, it was very, very important. You know, you wanted like, you know, kids to know. But then did that touch a bit on the kind of like Greekness, the Greek identity and stuff? So
yeah, absolutely. I was not an author by trade. I've been a freelancer for quite some time, you know, just contributing here and there whenever I can about Greek football or other articles about football. So I had a tiny bit of experience, but nothing as comprehensive as putting a book together. It was something, I think that it was a few different things that kind of came together. One is a lifelong passion for football. It's just the game that I've always loved so much, whether it be as a player, as a spectator, as a writer now,
Yes.
as a coach. There's just so many, I just love everything to do. When I see the green grass, something just happens and I get so excited and so happy to be out there.
Oh, I
Playing with
love
my
that.
kids has been the next step, and it's just encapsulated me my whole life.
Yes.
So I've always, and then I think if you combine that with, being a Greek American, being somebody who holds a lot of close ties, I think, with people in Greece, family and friends.
Yeah, because you're
Has
second
always
generation.
been,
You were born there.
yes, yeah.
Yes, but
Not, yeah,
but the
yeah.
parents were 100% Greek. So
100%
you
Greek,
were
yeah.
growing up Greek.
So, this kind of comes together, and I've got my little coffee cup here.
No.
This is Befkokuto, which is my dad's village. But my summers there were just, they were magical for me.
Yes.
My sister and I, and the cousins we had. And so, I think trying to give something back to my heritage was also something that, came to the fore as I started putting this together.
Yes.
And those two things collided,
Yeah.
and if you say you can't write a book, I'm just living proof that you can, because I probably would have been the last person, a long time ago to think that I was going to do it. But,
I mean,
I think
that was part of
that
my
passion kind of just
inspiration
drove
to invite you. So yeah, I was just like, yes, I need this story. I need this story in my life, and I think that other people do as well. So yeah, no, that's the thing. And so obviously, yeah, the the whole Greek American kind of conflict going on obviously was the trigger.
Right,
It
right.
was an inspiration on the personal side of things. It was exactly you kind of feeling that you giving back, as you said, to your Greek part, and obviously, yeah, your love for football. I mean, inevitably, I mean, you would have done something about it, because clearly, you speak about it, you light up. So I mean, it was inevitable. So it was a calling in itself. But I mean, so while you were writing, obviously, as we said, it was a project from scratch. So while you were writing, what was your biggest surprise as a person as well, your biggest challenge, if you will, but just something that really surprised you as you were kind of going through your research and your writing, and even later on, with the publishing and stuff, and looking for things, what was something that you were just oh my god, what's going on?
I think it was, if I had to pick one thing, I believe it was just it's like you're climbing a mountain at the beginning.
Yes.
And you're like, oh my God, how is this going to happen? You're looking at it.
Yeah.
The scope of the project is something I had never taken on. And I was like, this will take me years and years and years to do. I don't know how my patience or yeah. But I think, if anything in my life has taught me, if I'm good at anything, it's discipline and kind of, showing up and being there. So I think, the chipping away and the taking step by step to get up that mountain,
Yes.
I was surprised at how, if I continue to do that, I could see the progress being made. And I was like, I can make it happen. I think I can get there.
Exactly.
So, and there's different parts, like you said, there's the research phase and writing.
Yeah.
There's the editing. There is
exactly.
trying to send it out to hope that somebody somewhere is interested in the project.
I mean,
so there's a lot of different parts.
Which most people kind of struggle with, really, when they've got their own.
Yeah. It's certainly, there's a lot of difficulties involved.
Yeah. When you've got your own piece of work.
Step, but if you kind of keep really plugging away, I think the thing I learned is that you can make it through the other side, and I think when you look back on it, it's something, when you achieve that, it becomes something really special that you were able to kind of do.
Yeah.
Obviously with the help of a whole host of people.
So I guess, I mean, I don't know, because I've talked about this with a few other people. I mean, I even want to call it a bit of a kind of a tunnel vision, but just being completely focused on your inspiration, And as you said, though, it's very, very important when you've learned that skill, because I'm definitely not advocating that, hard work and perseverance is something that you're just born with. It's literally
no.
It's almost paradoxically, it's the result of hard work, right? make it as a habit. So
Yeah.
so this is one commendable, obviously, part of you that you have like worked on. But then eventually though, like you kind of like have to, as I said, like keep some have some oxygen flowing through, and that oxygen was definitely, not only obviously the cultural bits of, what, this is a part of me, part of my identity that I kind of like relate to and I want to explore and like, basically nourish as well. But it was also like, the calling with the football. So like sometimes just like, simple elements that, you kind of like always had there growing up.
Yeah.
But eventually, they put something quite unique together, because literally, guys, like, I mean, this is the only book that you will find out there. It's as comprehensive as it gets. And it's literally, I mean, as unique as it gets as well. It's just, and that's exactly what you brought forward. And it's absolutely amazing. And I must say, I'm very, very honored to actually, sell it on my bookshop. Because, I also pride myself in a hand-picked selection of books. So
yes,
it has to be. It has to
be part of that.
I mean, we also need to say hi to our friends from like Czech Republic, Czechia, and from Greece as well. That said hi earlier on. We're not forgetting you guys. We're just like trying to kind of like flow with our convo here. Sure. So like, I mean, okay, so like tying it to the what we had the surprises, like, what would the biggest struggles be? Like, when looking back, what was the time where you just like, well, all that perseverance, all that sort of like, putting your head down, just like, working for it. When was that challenge? When did you feel that, what, oh God, I'm, what, this is just getting a bit too much, if there was a moment, because maybe, you have a better stress management than I do. And
no. There was, I think that was present
actually,
often.
But, maybe there was like a moment where you just like, you felt that, it's, I mean, if not you're breaking, but you're quite close to that,
Yeah. I mean, if anybody has, if I could say anything as far as my process and the difficulties that I encountered, it was probably inside here. A lot of it, trying to have the confidence and the belief to think that you can put this together, that,
so it was
you can get somebody to kind of believe.
It was almost the beginning of it.
And I think experience plays such a big part. So if you're not really experienced, going through this process and knowing, okay, if I stick through it, it'll be okay. Then you really have to challenge yourself on a daily basis and just kind of get yourself to listen to the people that are around you that are supporting you.
Yes.
And also not allow that kind of self-doubt to creep in.
Snap out of you.
Because it's a blocker.
Yes.
It just blocks you from that creative flow, from the freedom to just be like, what, I'm going to let loose and this is going to happen. I unfortunately don't have that, so but this has been a good project for me to maybe find a little bit of that belief and confidence when I write. And so I think on that, for me, that was always the biggest trouble. Now, we could break it down into smaller things, like the writing sometimes was a challenge because you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, this makes no sense.
Yes. Of course, the writing process.
So there's all these other, and then trying to find somebody to publish, has its own challenges, and waiting to see if, I've sent out proposals and hopefully, it's been a week, it's been 2 weeks, But for me, it is kind of overcoming that,
the initial kind of like
as writers sometimes, like,
I think,
put on our shoulders. And
no, you're absolutely right though, because I mean, if you kind of like heard those like, inner voices, you would never have done it, as you said, because a lot of people say that we're actually reaching out and trying to convince publishers to publish, and so on and so forth are the obstacles. But you're absolutely right though, it's literally listening to that mental block that just like creates a rupture in your creative flow. And and as you said, like, as a hard worker, you just put your head down and you keep writing. Even if it doesn't make sense, you scrap it out, you write it again. And that's exactly what like the greater authors like actually say, as well as an advice. You just keep writing, like doesn't matter, like if you don't let the mental block is for amateurs. Philip Pullman once said that, and I'm just like, oh my god, that is so pedantic. But then I thought about it, and it's just like, he's absolutely right. Mental block is just, you know, for people that just don't want to write, right? And it's just, and it just completely like relates to exactly what you said. You don't let it like scream in your head that, you know, you can't make it. You have to start from somewhere. So yeah, no, that's absolutely absolutely amazing as well. And you know, we're glad you didn't stop there. You know, we've got achieving the impossible in our hands, and yeah, it's a legacy, you know. And I mean, I also like, yeah, I mean, as regards the book as well, because you know, when you like we first got in touch, I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, I thought, you know, the target audience is going to be people that like football. End of the story, you know. And you also told me as well that your publisher is mostly a publisher that, you know, publishes things about football, which, I mean, I find it good as a sort of like initial sort of like, you know, step. But what would you say in the end that your target audience was? Because after reading the book as well, I've got my opinion as well. Although, I mean, I kind of like gave them a course because I can't help it. But yes, but like, what would you say as the author?
Yeah, as I started to finish the book, and I'm like, okay, who's actually going to want to read this? You know, maybe some football fans, maybe some Greeks, maybe some Americans, maybe just family and friends. I don't know. But you know, I was hoping that it would be kind of anybody that was looking to find out a little bit more about how a group of people can come together from different places, and you know, and through organization, through passion for their craft, through teamwork and unity, really, I think is a big part of it. How they can come together to achieve something really remarkable, something, you know, that nobody would have ever thought those people could have done. So, you know, obviously, if you like football, maybe this is something that you'd be interested in. But even if you don't, I think the story behind, you know, a kind of ragtag group that, you know, just needed that organization, that structure, that belief, you know, and they needed to come together. Because if you read the book and you know anything about the history of the Greek national team, we've always been able to produce talented players. But when they come together, because sometimes they come from different club teams, and that's always been a source of friction, they've not been able to perform on the national team level to achieve much. So, you know, this was something different. This was out of the 100-year history of the Greek national team. You know, this period of time was, you know, different things were happening because these players were like a family. They believed in each other. They trusted each other. They supported each other.
And they exumed that.
What they
like you could see that.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm just hoping maybe people that would like a story like that would you know.
And I was about to say as well, though, it's also your way of writing as well that I think is going to I mean, it's just so captivating. It's like, it's simple yet informative, yet as well it reads like a story, you know, like a story that someone would tell their kids, you know. It's like, but it has that sort of like, exactly, very sort of accessible element as a book. Because as well, like as you say, like I mean, I like read about a lot of things that I didn't know about. Yes, the very, very typical Greek sort of like element of, you know, 100 years of, like, as you say, of like talent, yet we can't get together to actually put our act together basically and produce something nice that, you know, will make us proud. But yeah, and it's just I think, I mean, culturally, as a Greek and as a Greek living abroad as well, it really felt redeeming in a sense, you know, kind of like felt that, you know what, that was actually a bit more than just the football victory. Because yes, boring football, okay, yes, that happens, it had to happen, like as a winning team, it had to happen, but like everything behind it, and as you say, the fact that it just happened then, it almost you almost like put together like a recipe for success that if anyone is interested could just like look onto. And literally it's just a historical like account of why this actually works. You know how we say, in order not to repeat mistakes, we need to, you know, just read history. That's what you did. And that's what you did. And I think it's just like, it's an absolutely amazing account. And again, as I said, just like reads so easily. And you know how like I get upset very easily, you know, with books. I get upset very easily with books. And I mean, it's not a good thing because I'm a bookseller, you know, I'm supposed to, you know, be able to sell everything. But like, I'm very honest always. So, well, usually, you know, when I see something I don't like, when I see like, you know, the writing is, I mean, I would have told you as well, like, you know, on a one-to-one, you know, so it's just like,
I hope you would.
yeah. So, but that's the thing. Although you do cover things that are not necessarily very positive, you don't get super political about it. You do allow for the, you know, reader to draw their own conclusions, and also you do almost like insightful further research, but at the same time, for someone that has no idea about it, it kind of like feels fulfilling enough that, you know what, you give enough of a background for me to keep reading without like looking up anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, you know, in general, as I said, a legacy definitely, and you know, almost like a historical account that possibly, you know, a future, you know, ethniki or mother should look into. But and like, okay, yeah, to like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about like, you know, any sort of like struggles that you kind of went through, like as regards the publishing, because I know that a lot of people would be interested about that, because your publisher is Australian actually, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, like, I mean, I know that a lot of people that are like debating, writing, and because, you know, like now with the lockdowns and everything, like a lot of people had a bit of a creative spree going on. So, and that's why I started these like sort of like videos as well. So a lot of people are quite scared with the logistics of it all, and they're really sort of like, they don't know where to like, you know, start, you know, which side is which when it comes to, you know, distributing and even sort of like even starting with approaching publishers. So do you want to share any sort of like, you know, I don't know, experiences that might have been helpful for you, like that have been like sort of eye-opening or not so helpful, even, like, you know, in that sense?
Yeah, no. I've been very lucky with my publisher. They've been very kind to me, and it's been a very, you know, pretty straightforward process. I haven't really, you know, there's been no, you know, ill will, no animosity. We've had a good working relationship, so I've been, you know, quite fortunate, I think. You know, when you're trying to get it published, you know, I think that is where a lot of the struggle is, because you're trying to, you know, put forth something that you really believe in, that you're hoping will catch on somewhere.
Yes.
You know, I was lucky enough. I mean, I sent out quite a few proposals, you know, obviously got, you know, a couple rejections and some people that never bothered to respond, which, you know, I definitely expected, having looked into it and, you know, reading other people's, you know, stories and things. So I knew that, you know, it was gonna be kind of a long shot.
Yeah.
You know, but I was lucky to get Fair Play Publishing to get back to me, and you know, you know, I was glad to work with them. I think it was it was a good fit, as far as, you know, they are an Australian. That does cause some difficulties with distribution, just because of the distances and things like that. Sometimes the cost of getting, you know, material sent or whatnot.
Yeah.
So that might have been a little bit of a drawback, but, you know, they have a great stock of books, predominantly football books, and I think it was just a good fit, especially, you know, starting out for me. You know, I thought, you know, I'm kind of unknown. Fair Play, I just started out a couple of years ago. I just thought, you know,
So it was kind small of support, small kind of thing.
Okay.
No, that's, I mean, that's very, very important. And I mean, I think that's, you know, something that, you know, a lot of people out there should kind of like keep in mind, that, you don't really have to start with the big names, you know, support small. I mean, obviously, you know, everyone's experiences have been different, because obviously I have heard of like feedback, you know, of people starting with smaller publishers and not the whole idea, like not really sort of like, you know, working very well. But, you know, like, if it fits, it fits, and you kind of like know it. And as you said, it should be straightforward, and you know, like, another thing is, I think that, you know, you shouldn't stick around if, you know, it's not very straightforward and they're making your life difficult, I guess. But
absolutely.
I guess your book, though, like, you know, was kind of like on the football niche, and also, like, I think, you know, in Australia we do have a lot of Greeks, so, you know, they're not unfamiliar with the element.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
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 that
yeah.
definitely played a role.
Yeah. So which I mean, it was also my excitement as well when you kind of contacted me about the book. I was just like, oh my God, like it's actually in English as well. This is absolutely great.
Yeah,
I never thought that we would have something like that in English, which just like
yeah.
makes it international, and it's
Mhm.
absolutely lovely. Um, um I will ask you the last question, which is very similar to what we've covered as well, but just kind of like crystallize it basically. But before I do that, for all those of you watching, guys, if you do have any questions, and girls, and like just ask away. This is the time. We have George here on an exclusive sort of like interview about his very, very exclusive book as well. I'm just going to show it again, Achieving the Impossible. It is available on Diavazo and on all selected good bookshops. Yeah, like, so yeah, like last question, million dollar question, which again, as I said, you have kind of touched on that anyway, and you have actually given very, very, insightful and helpful tips throughout the interview. But so if you had to kind of like strip it down to one advice, what would you say? Like, what would be the one thing if someone like came to you right now was just like, okay, George, I know you've written a book. I know you just like, started from scratch. You know, you had no sort of like background whatsoever. What is the one thing I need to know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if it's just even crazy for me to think I'm giving advice to anybody
I know, but I
about
have
this,
to
because
ask you
I'm
because it's
constantly looking up
advice.
advice and listening to podcasts, or trying to catch what other authors do. But no, I do appreciate that question. I would say that you need to have a real passion for what you're doing. That has to be number one. You can't, I don't think, start with that, whether you're nonfiction or fiction or whatever you're kind of looking to do. That has to be the overriding, kind of wave that's coming through that can kind of propel you along the way.
Yes.
And you have to have persistence. You have to make yourself do it, even if, a lot of us maybe are, I'm always envious of those who can, go to a coffee shop and spend 6, 7, 8 hours and write. That is wonderful. There's many of us that can't do that.
Who does
So
that?
we have to juggle between different things, whether it's work and family obligations or whatnot.
Yeah.
So you have to have persistence in what you're doing. You have to carve out that time period. You have to kind of just keep going, and I think I touched upon it a little bit before, but you have to really have to believe in yourself as much as you can.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to, there really isn't. If you do the work, if you continuously write and improve your craft, I think there's just, you can just do anything that you kind of put your mind to. So
yeah,
that's the advice I would give.
Yeah. No, I mean,
somebody.
yeah, like I obviously, I couldn't agree more because, this is art in the end of the day. Just, channeling your inner drive, your passion. And yeah, a lot of people will ask, how do you define passion? What is your passion? But that's the thing. It's for all of us, it's just something that just clicks, something that can still fuel you when everything else kind of like, like falls behind or like falls apart.
Yes.
It's literally the other oxygen, So
Absolutely.
yeah, the oxygen.
And there'll be days where you don't feel like writing or whatnot, and I don't know. Everybody has their own process, so to say you have to write every single day might not necessarily work for somebody. But more often than not, you do have to sit down. You do have to kind of put that work in of trying to trying to reach that goal, and that's really the only way to do it. You have to look out for yourself, and you really have to use that passion, as you said, to really motivate you through it.
Exactly. So, silence the mental block and just, keep listening to the drive. That's it. Well, George, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I think,
the pleasure has been all mine.
No,
thank you
honestly,
so much.
And thank you so much. I mean, just not just for the interview, but like for a great book that, you've given us. And yeah, like it's been an absolute honor as well. And hopefully, we'll get to see, I don't know, even maybe more books of you. Like, who knows, the
Let's
next,
hope. Yeah,
I don't know,
hope.
great, Greece victory. because someone will come forward and be like, you know what, I read this book and that's why, you know, the team won, basically, you know. I'm living for that day, man. I am.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, until then though, well, I'll thank you again, and thank you all for watching as well,
Thank you
guys.
again. All the best to you.
We had
and I'm very grateful
Tsitsonis
for giving
today,
this opportunity.
all the way from America. And for whoever kind of like missed this, it's going to be uploaded on Facebook exactly in the same quality, because I don't edit my videos, so like it's going to be very, very unplugged and organic. But yeah, it is going to be available on YouTube on Diavazo Greek Books' channel. So yeah, be sure to follow, obviously, but I mean, even if you don't want to follow, it's still going to be on YouTube. So yes, and that's all from us. Thank you for watching, and much love to all, and you know, keep getting inspired.
Thanks again. All the best, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.